Welcome to Planet Raconteur. I am your host, Yuck Nasty, and I will be your guide into our world that is filled with sights and sounds, both wonderful and frightening. When you were young, have you ever played hide and seek with an imaginary friend? Our first story of the night may bring back some memories. We hope you enjoy Princess and the Monster by Ryan Creel.
The Princess and the Monster by Ryan Creel. She opened her eyes, revealing golden orbs that glittered like stars in the night. And as the morning sun rose slowly over the northern mountains, black pupils narrowed to slits and stood like knives to accommodate the light. It was time. She uncurled her great green reptilian body from the base of the mother tree at the center of the forest and displayed her massive wings, proud banners of her heritage. "I am born of Tiamat and Leviathan," said the wings. "Fear me." And all the creatures of the forest went silent or retreated and heeded the warning, for they knew she was greatest of all the hunters in all the world. She coiled like a snake and sprang through the tree canopy, unfurling her wings and riding the winds on sails through the heavens. Her scales shone like jewels in the light of the sun. With a prodigious wave, she was off in pursuit of her quarry. The beat of her wings reverberated through the treetops beneath her, and all living things quailed as she sped through the sky, a verdant blur. Then she caught the scent and took to the trail, knowing the elfling would not stay hidden in one place for long. She crashed into the village, an emerald meteor, and the ground shook as she touched down. She roared her challenge to any who would oppose her, and she reared up, turned her cavernous maw skyward, and let loose a torrent of orange flame to the morning air. No villager rose to the challenge, save one, a small boy who'd woken at the sound. The child calmly turned to face her and roared with boyish enthusiasm at the great green beast. And the child's mother crawled from her cottage in terror to collect her foolish offspring. The daughter of Tiamat and Leviathan bared her fangs and narrowed her ancient eyes, and the villagers filled the air with their cacophonous cries. But the scent was lost. The elfling was not there, and so she burst from the earth and took to the sky once more. She drove her powerful wings downward and flew up and up until she caught the scent once again. She flew hard and fast to the great stone city, alighting atop the royal castle. Her bellow exploded like thunder through the sprawling kingdom of man. The men and women and children below scattered like rabbits before a lion. They had never seen her like. And though the fear washed over them like rain, a few paused in veneration of the one that they beheld. And the horn rang high above the peal of screams. The soldiers came forth clad in shining mail, each carrying a sword. And the head of the guards yelled above the fray,
"We must protect our lord."
But she was not there for them, and the elfling was gone. And so she pushed from the rooftop and flew to the hunt once again. Then it was there, the soft scent of lilies and berries that could only belong to one being in all the realm. She flew faster than the wind in the direction of the rising sun, toward the mountains, toward her quarry. And when she landed at the mouth of the cave, she knew her search was over. She stepped into the black cave and her pupils rounded from great black knives in the darkness. At the end of the cavern, she saw the elfling, whose ice blue eyes glowed with magical fire and whose radiant golden curls shone bright. The dragon trumpeted in triumph. Then she circled, pawed and clawed at the ground, and boomed, "Found you!" And the elfling said,
"It's about time. Now it's my turn, so shoot."
And then the daughter of Tiamat and Leviathan flew from the cave, and the elfling turned to the wall, hid her eyes in her arms, and began to count.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The end.
5, 6, 7.
Our next story of the night is about a deal. Not a deal with the devil, but with a nightmare, nonetheless. Here is The Man's Smile by author J. Robert Dewitt.
The Man's Smile by J. Robert Dewitt. He says he can bring your wife back, but on one condition. Then he leans across your kitchen table and whispers to you.
You're gonna have to take care of that girl.
I won't do that.
Then you're out of luck.
I could never do that to a child.
Humans have done much worse for far less.
He leans back and smiles with his large yellow teeth. For a moment, words float to your mouth. This is over, you want to say. But instead, you're silent. This is how you realize you are considering his offer. Hesitation presses inside you. A bubble rising in your chest, and this terrifies you. Not the man, not his teeth, not his whispered condition, but the fact that some part of you wants to accept his offer.
I am the only one who can bring her back. No one else can do that.
You know this is true. You've seen his ship hidden behind your farm, deep in the forest. He's shown you all the secrets inside, told you truths about time and space, given you visions of other worlds, realms of unknown dimension. And he has proven to you over a cup of coffee in your kitchen that he can bring your wife back. Why me?
Because I know you'll do it.
That night you cannot sleep. You sit on the couch and stare at the photo of your wife, with your fingers touching the smiling face behind the glass. She's been gone 8 years, but you've never let go. Her clothes still hang in the closet. Her makeup still lies cluttered in the drawers. Her last voicemail still flashes on the recorder, a single red number glowing in the dark. You set her photo on the table. You tell her about the traveler and his ship, and you try to explain his offer. But you can't say the words out loud. All you can say is, "I'm sorry, honey, but I love you too much." The man arrives the next morning from the forest. You watch him through the kitchen window as he walks across the cornfield, the stalks brushing against his suitcase.
You'll need to drive to the city. That's where she lives.
I haven't said yes yet.
But I know you will. Everything you need is inside. Do not open it until you are there.
Why don't you do it? You can do anything.
There are rules you're not aware of that cannot be broken, and watchers to make sure those rules are kept. And then there's loopholes. You are my loophole.
From his pocket, he slides out a photo of the little girl. Brown hair and dimples, just like your wife. He hands it to you. You hold it, staring at the girl. I can't do this.
Yes, you can. She may look cute, but give her 20 years.
What happens then?
She'll develop a rare virus. It'll spread. It will kill everyone of your kind, including you.
Can't you stop it?
Not while they're watching. Not if they knew it was me. It wouldn't be natural. They would reverse it.
Then why me? Why not just get some thug to do it? The man smiles.
A thug they would suspect, but you they will not.
You stare at the photo again. She has blue eyes just like your wife. I can't promise anything.
I know that.
You fold the photo and you slip it into your chest pocket. The paper is light, but it feels heavy, as if made of lead. So what's in this for you?
Does it matter?
It matters to me, I'd like to know. The man leans forward. On the table, he folds his hands into a little chapel.
I care about your species. So much potential, so young. Why let a little virus take all that away? Such a waste.
You sit there and stare at his yellow teeth. There's something about this moment that makes you feel alive. You're aware of your breathing. The air flowing in and out of your nostrils and out through your mouth. Blood courses through your veins to your fingertips. Perhaps this is the verve, delivered from 8 years of numbness, that makes you stand from the table and grab the suitcase. I'm still not promising anything. I could never do that to a child. But the man's smile makes you think otherwise.
Our final tale of the night is entitled Mephisto by Alan Baxter. And he asked you the question, do you want to live forever? What are you willing to sacrifice for? Our friend the magician, in this next story, he may have your answer. And he calls himself Mephisto.
Mephisto by Alan Baxter.
I need a volunteer.
Mephisto scanned the crowd, one hand shielding his eyes as if from the bright sun. His red-lined black cape whipped around as he strode from one side of the stage to the other. Dozens of hands shot up, clamoring to be chosen. Mephisto squinted, heart hammering. He so hated this bit, but had little choice. There's always a choice, a voice whispered in the back of his mind, and he squashed it away into its dark corner. His gaze fell upon a young boy, maybe 11 or 12, smiling in anticipation. His hand wasn't raised, and of course, that made him perfect. Mephisto singled him out, one long finger bright in the spotlights.
What about you, lad?
The boy's eyes widened and he looked left and right. One trembling hand rose, pointed to his own skinny chest.
Me?
Yes, you. Come on, I'll make you famous.
The boy's parents sat on either side of him, nodding enthusiastically. Cajoling from the crowd drove the boy from his seat, up darkened steps and past voluminous crimson velvet curtains. Brass half-shells along the stage front cupped incandescent bulbs. Mephisto grinned over the brightness of the audience as they encouraged the boy along. When the young man reached him, Mephisto laid an arm across bony shoulders.
What's your name, lad?
Matthew.
Mephisto turned back to the crowd.
Matthew, ladies and gentlemen.
Whoops and wild applause disgusted the magician. These easily entertained masses. To hide his grimace, he made a theatrical turn, swept Matthew along to a tall black wooden box at center stage. It had a double door, split top and bottom like a stable, with bright silver tape marking edges that sparkled in the spotlight. The crowd oohed. Mephisto pulled open the two half doors. The box was empty. The crowd awed. How he hated them. Matthew looked terrified, pinned by the beam of light from the gallery. Mephisto couldn't blame him.
Please, step inside.
What are you going to do?
I told you, I'm going to make you famous.
The boy nervously moved forward and turned around, looked out over a sea of expectant faces, partially obscured by the glowing coronas before them. Mephisto closed the bottom door. Only Matthew's head and shoulders showed over it.
You've seen me perform all kinds of magic this evening, ladies and gentlemen.
The magician called out.
You've been impressed, yes?
The crowd whooped and hollered. Mephisto lowered his voice, forced the crowd to be silent to hear.
But do you believe I can make a young boy disappear?
The crowd assured him they could. Of course they did. They were in the palm of his hand.
I'm scared.
He winked at Matthew, closed the top half of the door.
What are you going to do?
The boy's frightened questions came through the wood.
Hello?
But he ignored them. Mephisto addressed the crowd again.
Clap for me, folks. Slow and steady. Like this.
He set a measured rhythmic applause going. As the audience carried it, he raised his hands high. The energy from this room full of sheep was powerful. But that was ever the case. Never underestimate the malleable vigor of people in large numbers. Their desperate need for entertainment to muffle, however briefly, mundane lives. He let that energy rush through him, absorbed it, mutated it. He spoke the words. A low roar like distant water powering through a canyon rose in the auditorium. It built up, rising with the frenzied clapping of the audience. They felt it more than heard it, clapped faster and faster, began to cheer and laugh and bay. Mephisto drew that power in, and the roar rose to a deafening crescendo. Sparks and flames burst out around the box and quickly vanished. The box stood dark and still. The crowd gasped and faltered. The noise sank away like a tide, until silence rang in the theater. Mephisto slowly lowered his arms and a grin spread across his face. He turned and threw open the doors. Young Matthew was nowhere to be seen. The crowd erupted in applause and laughter. Mephisto strode to the front of the stage and bowed once, twice, thrice. With a sweep of his cape, he turned and walked swiftly into the darkened wings. The last thing he saw was the nervous smiles on the faces of Matthew's parents, the empty chair between them. He packed quickly in his dressing room while the crowd's approval sounded slightly muted through the walls. He stuffed his magician's garb into his hard leather case and put on the shabby suit and scuffed shoes that disguised him with their normalcy. He pulled off the dark hairpiece and ran one hand over stubbly blonde hair. It only took a moment to wipe away thick makeup, revealing pocked and pale skin. In just a couple of minutes, he was done, grabbed his case, and left by the stage door, into a grimy alley. A dark shadow, vaguely man-shaped, awaited him. Beside the shadow, a smaller presence trembled, emanating terror. "Thank you, George," the shadow said. "Mephisto, really?" George shrugged.
As good as any. I'm running out of names. It's fitting, though, isn't it?
The shadow laughed, a terrible sound. "Same time next year, George." The magician scowled, pushed past the darkness, wincing at its icy presence.
Yes.
What's it been now? 212 years?
213. Don't play games with me.
The deep, ominous chuckle again. "Anytime you want it to end, just come to me. I'll be happy to have you." The shadow winked out with a burst of frost before George could reply. He ground his teeth, hating himself, hating people, hating everything, and scurried from the alley. As he turned down the street away from the theater, he heard a woman's voice inside, high-pitched in anguish, screaming for someone to do something. He hunched into himself and made for the train station. The end.
Well, there you go. Another trip to Planet Raconteur. On behalf of myself and our two fine Raconteurs, Papa Dave and Bobby Anthem, we would like to thank you for listening once again. All of the stories presented on Planet Raconteur are used by permission or are in the public domain. Check out the show notes for details on the authors, their websites, and their other releases. And if you like what we are doing, please subscribe and follow us on all of our social media platforms. The links will be found in those same show notes. Much love, and thank you again for visiting the Planet Raconteur.